Oh my goodness, everybody. Welcome to Choice, Change and Action. So you are with me, your host. I am in bed in Bucharest, Romania. It's been a big, long day. It's only 8:30, but if anyone knows me, that's like the last time you're going to get me at night. I'm much better at like 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. But I stayed up. Well, it's not like I go to sleep, actually. Let's just clarify something. I'm not like, off to sleep with the kids. I just don't have much intellect or much whatever left, after a certain time. I'm like, meh. But I wanted to do this podcast that we've been aiming to do with Miss Desiree DuMonde, and this was a great time to do it. So I'm very happy that you're here, Desiree. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And I have to say, I've already heard from I don't know, 5 people who are in the choice for possibilities that are like, what just happened?
Oh, it was so good. Yeah, I just came from Poland. Support Poland and did Choice for Possibilities. But do you know what? Thank you. And I'm going to say, I was talking to Gary, it's like after Global Foundation, which we just had in Prague. So I know a lot of my listeners have done a lot of access and a lot of listeners have done hardly any. And someone reached out to me today who's never done an access class. And they said, again, please don't stop doing your podcast. Your podcast is number one podcast I listen to. And I was like, yeah, I'm not stopping anytime soon. So thank you if you're listening and I just hope that every podcast we do that you meet someone new, you walk away with a tool, a question that you can use, that you can change your life. If you come to access classes, that's on you. That's your choice. As I always say, don't trust me. Don't trust Desiree. Trust you. Trust what you know. And we just did Global Foundation in Prague, in Czech Republic, with Gary Douglas and Dane here. They do it once a year. And there was something about that class and the conversations that I, very gratefully got to have with Gary, like at lunch or before class or something like that. And for me, it created such a relaxation. And one of the main key pieces that he kept reiterating was, don't buy the lies.
Mm.
And he said for a really long time, don't lie to yourself. Like, if you want, learn to lie to others, which is, a whole other thing. I just did a podcast with Kalpana, actually, that was released, I think last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago, it will be, on manipulation. And, Gary Douglas and Kalpana are doing a class at the Castle in Italy, on manipulation. And, lying to others is a whole other topic and a whole other level of manipulation that we should all learn to grasp. But please don't lie to yourself. It's like, what if we started being brutally honest with ourselves and what works for us and what doesn't work for us and what we can choose and not choose without going to the rightness and without going to the wrongness, and stop trying to see the truth in a lie. Like, one of the things Gary said was, a lie is a lie. Boom. That's it. A lie is a lie. Stop trying to find the truth in the lie. And so I've noticed for myself, there's a calmness and a relaxation in my world. So facilitating Choice for Possibilities seems to always get, like, I want to say easier, not that it was hard, but like more space to it every time I do, which I'm super grateful for. And I'm so grateful for the tools of access. I wanted you to come on this podcast because you've been inspiring me. Well, you always inspire me, and you have such beauty in words. So I want you on here verbally. No. But you do. You just, like, when I read what you write, I'm like, like, I can read what you write forever. But you also do have a way to energetically convey something. And can you just give a little brief history on, I guess, like a project or a teaching job that you have been working with recently with these kids in Colorado? Because that's what I went, oh, Desiree, can you please come on my podcast? And this has evolved and it will be what it will be. But
Yeah.
this is what was actually inspiring for me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all of that. And I love that you mentioned this lady who listens to your podcast that hasn't taken classes, because yes, the access tools, wow, they give us so much. But we also get to be these tools in the world. And so it's so perfect that you mentioned that, because I've been working with teens for 20 plus years as a vocal coach, as a singing teacher, as as whatever we want to call it. Really just like using singing as an inspiration to get teens to grow and to change and to find out that they can actually show up to something physically, intellectually, spiritually. They get so present and they have so much fun when they get to gift themselves. And so in all these years, like, I've never stopped teaching. It'll come in waves, but there's this great place where we can institute not only enthusiasm and mentorship for teens, but we can be these tools around them and they notice. And so this last year, starting in December, well, yeah, more like December, January, one of my students from almost 20 years ago, wonderful, wonderful student who has grown into this amazing man and a teacher in a very interesting dynamic school, with a lot of foster kids, inner city school. And he is the music theater teacher and their best friend and their guide. But this is a school filled with kids that have not had a lot of mentorship and haven't had parents and haven't had those certain influences in their life that give them a sense of possibility. These are also kids that are not your typical musical theater kids who want to sing or want to dance or want to get on stage. But this beautiful student of mine who is their teacher knows how to manipulate using musical theater as a way to leverage them to desire graduation credits.
Oh, I love that.
So,
That's manipulation, ladies and gentlemen.
I was going to say that. So if they don't do this, they don't graduate. And so one of the things that was so exciting is we're coming up on kids that just don't have a lot of motivation to do it. They don't have an idea that they weren't even really targeting the desire to graduate, let alone wanting to sing, let alone wanting to perform. And so we had to really be these tools. We had to okay, what can the two of us do to just make this so irresistible that we manipulate them into desiring more than they even know they desire? Which is, in this particular case, these kids have been angry, they're disappointed, they're kind of giving up. And so it has an intensity to it, but it's illuminated 20 years of work where even all the kids that I've worked with, all the clients that I've worked with, it's this constant pattern with just slight differentiations of hydrating, kind of course correcting that they actually do have desire. They actually do desire possibilities and they do exist. But sometimes if we're speaking directly that way, they can't hear it. So you have to kind of indirectly manipulate them to desire a greater possibility than they believe is possible because they're believing in those lies you mentioned. Yeah. They've already bought the lie that they don't have a future like other kids. And so we're dissolving the lies they believe in while leveraging them with a target. And then the singing and the inspiring and the teaching is really a way that we can use our bodies to distract the believing in lies. And what I've found as a singer, as a teacher, let alone a facilitator, but what I've found in my life over and over and over again with singing and with riding horses or being in nature is my body's joy and enthusiasm to gift something melts lies. It's one of the ways that it opens doors. And so I got to see all these kids go from just a lot of drugs, a lot of apathy, a lot of absence, to not wanting to miss their musical theater class, absolutely lined up and early to have their vocal coaching, memorizing their lines, memorizing their music. Couple of boys made a deal that they would not do any drugs because they wanted to find out how much better their voice would sound.
Wow, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was every day just with no expectation that they were all going to love it, because we can't believe that. Just presenting that how much fun can we have without you guys needing to prove anything. You don't have to be great. You don't have to be terrible. There's nothing to prove. Let's just have fun. And from that place where everybody was kind of committed to just exploring, all these lies just sort of kind of go away. Now that when they leave the room, you could kind of see, like, when class ends, they kind of turn back into that kid that believes in lies.
Mm.
But that 1 or 2 hours a week that they know they have that place where the lies don't exist was enough to melt for almost all of them. I mean, all 22 of them graduated. So it was like,
But
there's so many details. I can't share the whole story,
yeah.
but it was like the impossible was made possible. And also, we don't need to, like, in order to unbelieve a lie that feels so real, it doesn't take as much work as you think. It's more of like instituting the joy of the body, and that they know they're a gift. They're not a gift by what money they have or what money they don't have or how cool they think they are by their acquisitions. They started to all feel really freaking cool because they could gift something.
So this is in Colorado. Whereabouts in Colorado?
It's in Denver. Yeah.
In Denver, Colorado. Okay. So, and I love this because there's two things I want to mention here. One is I would really like everybody listening to this to start acknowledging the contribution that we can be for each other, even like that has nothing to do, and one of the things I do want to bring up has nothing to do with money. It's like the happiness and dedicating ourselves to the future that money cannot buy. It can include it, but it's like creating this different wealth
Yeah.
of who we be and how we be. And I remember one night, I'm pretty sure it was nighttime because I read your message. Like, we're in a thread called the Maestros because it's a class that Dr. Dane here does, and it's a really advanced class. It's the most advanced class in access consciousness, but there's a lot of, we call it like Maestros around the world. And it's, I don't always write in there. I don't always read it, but every now and then something catches my eye and I do. And oof, you asked, as these kids were going in to perform, you asked us to fill the room. You said, will you please fill the room? Because these kids don't necessarily have the normal standard of the parents that are coming to check them out, and the aunties and the uncles and the brothers and sisters and stuff like that. And you said, will you fill the room? And I remember going to bed and I was like, sure, fucking absolutely. And as I went to bed, I was just like, yeah, everything that they require in that room. That's me in the Sunshine Coast in Australia, Queensland, right? And you're in Denver, Colorado. And I'm like, I mean, I haven't told you that's because it's so instantaneous, but you asked, you requested. I was like, yeah, I will be everything I can to fulfill this request and fill the room. I might never meet any of those kids, nothing, but the contribution that we can be for the entire planet and for other people by just going, yeah, you got this, we got this, let's go, is bigger than anything that this reality, decides is relevant and important. It's like there is no lie in that.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you. I could just go into a puddle of tears, but there's so much I want to speak to
Yeah.
about that because first of all, what it is like when we choose to contribute and show up and receive others really shining.
Yeah.
It is the fuel, it is the nectar, it is the mojo for possibilities. And to get to have, I didn't always know this. I didn't know how different it was throughout my life to, cultivate some change in, especially in teens, but I've worked with people, adults, and all kinds of things. But with teens, I'm just going to stay on that. Many, 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 many years of my life, like pockets of cultivating change and seeing them shine. And I would just be like, oh, like my heart would just be so big. And you'd see them be like, just like imprinted with the knowing of how great they can be. And whether they ever sang again, like most of the time, this isn't about making performers. It's about greatness. It's about composure. It's about showing up. It's about overriding their fears. It's about so many things. And yet modern reality thinks singing and performing is whatever they think it is. But when you're working with kids and you're getting them to explore themselves and show up for it and then give it as a gift, and then you see them be proud of each other and proud of themselves, and all the people who show up or the beings that show up, everybody's fed. This is like one of those things that I kind of call the ecosystem of mentorship. I think we're really innately designed to gift while we're learning. Like Gary
Mm.
has changed my life, and I just keep drinking the nectar. Like I want to hear everything he has to say, and as soon as it hits the bloodstream, I just want to put it out into every
Mm.
possible space that I can. And we have these cycles, but then when the youth are like, whenever somebody drinks it in and they shine, like you're fed to gift more, and it's just so quick and it's so instantaneous, and it's really our power of communion, not from a significance. It's just how it's like the network, like the mycelium or something of our caring for each other. And so I think what I loved that you brought it up is we so often think, especially when you're around teens, no matter what their upbringing, they are so freaking programmed to think they need to get stuff. They want to possess stuff. They want to possess things. They want to have lots of distractions and money. And they don't necessarily know how to work very hard or want to cultivate like effort. And I'm always like, you guys, come on, you're not lazy. Like
Yeah.
really doing something that's hard and have to work for it, you're gonna feel like the richest dude in school. Like, and so it is this whole flip on wealth of being. And from that place of really liking you, money becomes so much easier anyway. But like melting this thing of acquisition and just constant fixation on money, like I really love to spend my life more fixated on what beauty can we make, what beauty can we share. And you can reach out to your friends across the world and ask them to receive it, and just by your response now, like how much it's fed you, and that they're going to continue to be fed. And this is this ripple of life force, genuine life force. Like I know that night watching them perform, I was like, I don't know, I felt my body be given like 20 more years, maybe 200 more years. Like I was just like, I have enough energy of love and like genuine love, like love
Yeah.
of being alive. Like I can do anything. Like, and those are the things that make me swagger with like, yeah, I'm alive and I
Yeah.
love to be alive. And sure, I love jewelry and stuff too, and that's fun to add. But I don't really want stuff if I'm not the jewel that gets to wear it. And that's what I want those kids to know. Man,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I love that you just threw jewelry in there as a
I
theme.
know, because I'm like feeling my
It's like
beautiful
people about do cars or something. It's like, "Oh, it's jewelry," and it's like because I do know you have some beautiful pieces of jewelry too. But
thing.
it's funny, I've been looking at this recently too, Desiree, probably for the last 3 years is, I started ticking the boxes of this reality of things that I had, whether it was like a house, investment, a car, jewelry, all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, this, I'm so grateful for my house. I mean, I've actually got my ex, Brendan Watt, staying there at the moment for a month. And everyone was like, "You're so weird." And I'm like, dude, he helped create that house. It's like, and you walk in it and it's like an an ESC, which is ESC is an energetic synthesis of communion that Dane does. And it's like the plants, everything. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I don't desire to get rid of it, but it didn't make me me. It contributes to me. And I've noticed recently that a lot of the things that I thought that once I accumulated this, there would be, I'm not going to say like a sense of happiness, but there was something I thought would occur. And it hasn't. I am happy. That didn't make me happy. I am happy. And then what I've started questioning is, what would I like to create as a future with money that I create? Like, one of the questions I've been asking is, if I create with consciousness today, what would I choose? And, 9 times out of 10, it's not about the money.
Yeah.
Yes, do I like traveling business class and economy? Fuck yes, all that sort of stuff. But it's not what makes you happy. And I think I think you worded it to me in something you wrote was, you know, dedicating yourself to the future that you wish to have and create, and how happiness is a big player in that, but not what we thought it was going to be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and then also, when you went horse riding recently at Gary and Dane's ranch, Gary actually commented to me about the much better rider that you were becoming and the horses that you were riding and everything. And I said, she wrote to me, like we were exchanging these texts, and I went, I could so perceive the energy of just how joyful Desiree was to be there with her body. And I'm going to say no people or hardly any people, and just ride and just be with the horses. And that sort of, happiness and what that creates. So I want to ask you too, what makes you happy and what inspires happy for you?
Ugh, what a question. Thank you for asking it, and thank you for bringing up the ranch and my beautiful horse and all the horses. The first thing that pops that goes all the way back to being a little girl is presence with. It could be a person, it could be an
I love
animal,
that. I love
just
that.
presence with.
Presents with. Yeah, I love that. Presents with candy,
Yeah,
presents
or
with
with
jewelry,
me,
presents
or
with
with
horses.
little
Yeah.
knowing, like when I was little, it would be like I found some, minnow, and I would like pull it out of the creek, and I would give it, like I could spend hours just like presence with. Presence with a really hard opera I have to learn, and every phrase and every
Mm,
sound and everything that I have to memorize and put through my body. Presence with a horse and everything that's going on. Presence with, and there's such a intimacy in that we don't often get with people. And of
mm,
course, thank goodness for access consciousness, because I didn't have the words to acknowledge the answer to that question had I not taken a lot of classes and chosen these tools, because I
mm,
had this like somewhat, I loved presence with, but I had this like heartbreak of what I thought human relationships were going to be, what I thought the planet was going to be like. And so that kind of heartbreak and what I was looking for with people is all dissolved. And I
mm,
get to really have what is happiness for me, which is definitely different than anybody else that I know. But there's a lot of kind of contradictions too. I love to really be alone and explore and educate myself and just get subtly tiny bit better at something, but it's so huge.
yeah.
But I also love to be in a really intense rock and roll concert dancing like a maniac. Like I love people. I love to be around the intensity of all of it, even if it's crazy. It's just knowing where to be and letting my body have her experience here, not stopping her. Like my body
Mm,
likes really, really good, really loud music. It also likes total silence and just hearing the frogs and the birds, and that's it. And just
mm,
like I think happiness for me is the allowance for what I love to do, and if that means hanging out with a lot of kids and teenagers over the years too, gifting something that I knew was not in their universe. It's I love to go into a space and notice how I could just make it a little bit better. I don't have to change everything. I don't have to take them all in and adopt them all. just just how can I make it a little better? It's like decorating is the same way for me. I like to just find how this could hang here, and maybe it's all these subtleties of enjoying the fun of the real fun and the peacefulness of like our brilliance. We're
yeah.
embodied, and we can be great at almost anything that we want to be great at, not from excellence and judgment of this reality, but great when you feel that smile of like, I just did that. And that's like these kids, I couldn't within a few months, you can't like turn them suddenly into great singers. They all became great, which is the point. And they are all like high-fiving and proud of each other. And that goes into the bones, man. You can't take that out of people.
Yeah.
So I think if you can just, and I guess the other thing, what makes me most happy is knowing I don't have to heal people, but that I love people. I believe in people, and I love to give them little keynotes and little wedgies and little manipulations and little whispers that they don't have to live in any heartbreak or disappointment or they might choose to, but they don't have to. And I
Mhm.
like to go around, leaving tools and messing with people's heads so they can't believe in the lies too much.
I love that,
The
and I
long
love that you did bring it back to, like, not believing in the lies, and I just wanna something you've been talking about this too, because if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, that sounds great, blah, blah, blah," but how many of you make something right or wrong, like, the choices, rather than just really being present? Like, one of the stories that you just said too before was how some of the kids made the demand. They said they'd stop taking drugs for a bit to find out what their voice was like. That's it, right? That's it. And for me, it's like I love they might start taking drugs again, not right or wrong,
Yeah,
choice. Stop taking drugs to find out what their voice is like, not right or wrong, choice. And for me, that has to be a really big major player in this. Like, there's years that I took a lot of drugs, and when anyone told me that I had to stop, I was like,
gonna do more.
you. I'm gonna do more. And I was like, and they were like, "You're addicted." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I know I can stop when I wanna stop." And everything I've taken, I've stopped cold turkey when I chose to stop because I chose to stop. It was my choice, not somebody telling me that it was right or wrong. And I had to get to the place with actually being present with what you talk about. Like my first level 2 and 3 in access consciousness, which is now choice for possibilities, is when I stopped taking drugs, because I sat in a class with access and went with Gary and went, holy shit, this guy's talking about everything that I would like, everything I'd like to create. It's got all these tools. I thought I was finding it in drugs, but this is actually what I would like. And so that was my choice. It was on me. I chose. And I think that's really important for all of you to get that it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It's like, what are you choosing today?
Yeah.
And what are you going to choose tomorrow? It's like, don't judge what you've chosen. Don't try and make up for, you know, something that you decided that you did that you were an asshole. We've all been assholes. We've all done shitty shit and done stuff and gone,
Well,
whoops,
and
didn't
maybe
get
it
caught for that
really
one.
takes it's like what makes you happy changes, which is maybe why my
Yeah,
answer was so long, but, like, maybe the drugs was really opening a door for the choice. Who knows? It made you happy then, but it changed, and you have to be willing to change. Like, wow, how cool. We get to be so many more things than who we think we are.
exactly. So can you expand into this too, and maybe expand a little bit more into how you see, which is another access consciousness tool, being in allowance sort of rolls into all of this?
Mm. Wow. Well, I think you just said it so well. Like, you gotta give up judgment as is valuable. And I'm not sure I fully understand where you're going with the question, but I do know that when I got to the allowance for how much more I am than who I thought I was,
Yeah.
it gave me the freedom to be like to actually let me just put it this way, like I wasn't in allowance. Like there's a lot of people and other things I was never going to judge. I'm in allowance of them. But I
Mm,
wasn't in allowance to find out what else would make me happy because it might rock the boat. It might change my lifestyle. So the greatest gift for me has been allowance for how much of an adventure I want to have in this life, how many
mm.
places I want to go, how many different things I do differently and I would like to do. And you have to be willing to receive a lot of judgment to have allowance for yourself changing because people get weird about you changing. Like, I
They
never
do.
thought you would do that. I can't believe you're doing that.
And they all have that voice.
They all talk like that. And it's really fun to have the allowance to pivot completely.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you just said something about you you were unsure that you wanted to change your lifestyle. What about your lifestyle did you think was more important than change? And
Mm.
when did you change it?
Family relationships was the thing I wasn't willing to change.
Mm,
Who they see me as so they would know where I was and who I am, and I didn't want anyone that I had that closely knit to me worry about me. Ultimately, I didn't wanna burden anyone with worry. Um, that limited my life a lot. That came from a desire to be caring for them. Like, I don't want them worried about me. So I'll just be as recognizable and constant for them.
Wow.
And it wasn't that I wasn't desiring to have more of
Mm.
me. It's again like it's easier for them if I don't change. Um, or if I do change, I'm going to hide it, which is also very hard to do. By the way, if you've completely changed who you are, but you're trying to appear the same way. Um, so the allowance for whatever it brought up for everyone as I let go of things that I used
Mm.
to love, as my relationships don't make sense to them, as my travels or what I prioritize definitely doesn't make sense to my family. My
Yeah.
priority list is very different, and the allowance to have your priorities of happiness, I know now, thanks to really Gary, when I prioritize my reality, no matter how much they worry or they're upset or they're, whatever, it's such a gift to them. It's a gift
Mm.
not just to them, but it's to the world. It's a
Yeah.
resonance of commitment. And it's funny because I've spent my whole life gifting that without knowing it, inspiring that in teenagers. And I mean, immediately when I was 8, I got my first 8 years old. That was my first babysitting job. Who hired me? I don't want to, I'm not going to. I was a very wise 8-year old, but I had this instinct immediately to want to like give anything I had been given. Like,
Yeah.
like, did you know about this? And let's go find out more about it. And yet, so there's that instinct to give the more, but if you have somewhere that you're trying to be the same. So yeah, it's just, I'm trying to say a lot of things all at once, but the
Well,
allowance to upset people and know it's a gift,
yeah.
know it will open a door for them.
Well, one of the things that Gary, and again, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, actually empowered me with years ago too, was when I had a stepchild,
Mm.
and I was always trying to choose what would work for him. And he
Yeah.
said to me, Simone, you have to choose what works for you. And I was like, oh my God, but I'm supposed to be the stepmom and da da da. And he said, as you choose for you, you show them that they can choose for them. And I'll never forget that.
Oh, so
Yeah.
just
I know, because I mean, my family, I love the way you say the worry thing, because my dad, he used to, he was a devout Catholic. He was an amazing man. But, at 16, I went, hey, Dad, can I talk to you? I don't want to go to church anymore. I'm not listening to the priest. I'm just sitting there looking around and seeing what friends are there, or, what cute guys in there or whatever, like nothing. I said, I'm not paying attention. And he said, okay. He said, you don't have to go to church anymore. He said, but I will pray for you. And I was like, okay, cool, sweet, we got it. And he always used to go, I worry about you. You're so wild. And I'd be like, Dad, don't worry about me. And the thing that he always did for me was he said, you have to choose. This is your life. You need to choose. He said, I will be here for you, but you need to choose. And I would go and, like, throughout my life, go and ask him different questions and his advice. And he would ask me a question. Like, this is way before Access. And he would ask me a question and say, well, you need to choose this and work out if this makes you happy, if this works for you. And I
that.
was so grateful that he was that father figure in my life. I mean, my mother was the antithesis, and let's not go into her, but the father figure of empowering me to have choice and not do what everybody else was doing. Because I remember even at school, people were what they were wanting to do when they left school, and I was like, no, I don't want to get married and have kids. I'm going to explore the world. I'm out of here. And to if you're listening to this, it's like, again, this is not about the rightness and wrongness, and it's not about having to go against the grain of what everybody else is choosing. It's not lying to yourself and
That.
choosing what actually works for you, no matter who's choosing what around you, no matter if anyone gets it. Who
That.
cares if they don't get it?
And I love what you said about your dad. I think we have the same dad and mom. I just know it. But, my dad used to say, "Oh boy, this one didn't come with a guidebook." And it was like, yeah, I knew I was born buck wild and there was really no taming, but I wanted to add something there that I also was like, I don't know what I got to do, but there's music my body wants to make, and I got to travel, and I have so much to learn. Like, I'm not even remotely, I knew I was just, there was so much I wanted to absorb. But you also might be out there listening. And like at the time, I felt like I was always against the grain. So therefore, I was worried that I was worrying my parents. And so subtly taming my wild adventure for many, many years. But also, you might totally pivot and suddenly you want to have kids and get married, and that might be so against the grain at 60 years old or something, and you can do it. And it's like nothing, not it is really like not about going against the grain, but having what is for you.
Yeah.
And my dad used to say, especially when I was a young singer coming and going from Europe a lot, and for the beginning, I was always coming home very happy. Ooh, I did it, whatever. But when he started to see me come home very serious, and I had kind of lost my enthusiasm about it, he always would ask me, like, are you enjoying yourself? Like, don't feel obligated to keep doing this just because you put all this in. Like, you can always come back to it. Like, are you
Mm.
enjoying yourself? That was the question. And then every time I left the house, he'd say, enjoy yourself or come home. I was like,
Oh, I love it. Enjoy
oh,
yourself or come home. I
yes.
love it.
And I remember like in high school, like I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go do something, and then I'd be like, this actually isn't fun for me. Everyone else thinks this is fun, so I'm gonna go home.
Yeah. You don't
And I
have to
had
stay out till 2 AM or 3 AM. You're
to
like,
prove
I
you're
wanna go
enjoying
home.
yourself.
You know, I did that, a New Year's Eve. It was quite a few New Year's Eves ago, and there's a bunch of friends. There was like 8 of us or something like that, and we met up at like 6 PM at a friend's place, and we're having, cheese and crackers and nibbles and champagne and stuff. And we were there for like a while, and the idea was to stay there for New Year's Eve. And it got like 2.5 hours in, and I looked around and I was like so grateful for these people,
Mm,
really grateful for the company, the champagne, the food. But I went, I'm going home. And it was New Year's Eve, and as I left, there's 2 other people left, but it was
mm,
just this, like, gratitude, but I was like, "No, I'm gonna go home and be on my own for New Year. That's actually what's gonna work for me right now." And not
mm,
from resistance and reaction, like, not this you don't have to resist when you choose,
that.
you don't have to align and agree with somebody else when you choose. It's and as I love when you said too, Desiree, even if you make a choice today, you can make a different choice, like, every 10 seconds, but tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years, like, 20 years. It's like you can pivot.
Oh,
This is your life. It's like pivot when you want to, you know?
and the freedom and the allowance in that. Um, I've recently had, since Global Foundation in particular, so many things that I was adamant to not choose. I didn't realize I wasn't
Mhm.
choosing it, I was resisting it. So a
Ah,
choice is where you like when you're willing to actually perceive it, not just immediately push it away. So I have just had all these things that I didn't realize I wasn't choosing a no, I was pushing them away
mm,
to not have that in my field. Like, no, that is not gonna happen. And that it limits the joy of perceiving the choice. So I just wanted to add this one piece here of like a true choice has like joy around it. You can look at choosing it or not choosing it, and you get to perceive the possibilities that it creates if you choose it or if you don't. It's not this big, like, oh my gosh, no. Like, so I don't know. Maybe it was because of all those lies Gary was melting in Dane that I just was like, wow, I would like to look at everything as a choice,
yeah,
not as a resistance or trying to make myself more of who I think I am, which again, we keep returning to that. Um, we don't have to be who we think we are. We get to be amazed by what we get to be. And
yeah,
it can be like that, back to that wild ride that our dads both, picked up on the day we were born. My dad always said, like, I knew this one couldn't be controlled.
yeah,
And it's like, so what would it be like if we stopped controlling ourselves? Your life might be out of control, but in the most relaxed way. It's finally kind to you. I love to just pivot and maybe go home for New Year's. And I also love a dazzling party when you
yeah,
want it, It's
yeah,
like
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah, it's not an either or,
mm,
have everything. I love too that you mentioned that there was things that you realized that you were pushing away.
Mm.
because I know, like, when that has occurred for me, it's like how much I would push something away because I didn't know how the fuck I was gonna deal with it or handle it or receive it. Like, so
This
out of control to actually receive it that it was like, "No, I'll just push that away. That's easier, isn't it?"
Yeah.
No, what if it's not? What if receiving is one of the greatest gifts that you could be for yourself, is to receive what's next, you know?
Mm, that's just like that opens so many more doors. And I know the things that I was resisting, I may not choose, but to let them in has been like letting old friends in.
Mm,
They are energies. They're
yeah,
energies. Like, and one other thing there is like all of a sudden if you allow yourself to open the door to the choice and you perceive the energies of it, then you also can perceive what you're going to be with that, not what you see everybody else being with it, which
yes,
is kind of
yes,
ties us back to
yes.
these teenagers and stuff, because they already had the projection or the lie, like, well, we don't have the money. Even if we do graduate, what the hell are we going to do? Like, it just, they had all this solid conclusion about their future. And so you open a door energetically and the possibilities roll in without the pressure or expectation that they have to choose anything. But they were receiving different futures, whether they choose them or they don't.
Yeah.
And that, like, I mean, they all were so shiny and sparkly and healthy and transformed without any money showing up, without any college tuition or whatever, just that they let the future in, any future, not just the
Ooh, I
singular one.
like that.
Yeah,
Let the
cool.
future in. Yeah.
All of the
Yeah, so
futures.
yeah, so what future can we now let in?
Mm.
Like, even just now, as you're listening to this, whether you're driving, running, sleeping, whatever, it's like, ask, "Dear universe," you gotta be polite to the universe, use your manners. "Dear universe, thank you so much for everything, and what future can I now let in? What future can I now receive?" Everything it doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, we destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100 shorts, boys, ProVeds, creations, bases, and beyonds. And that, in case you're brand new, is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which you can find out more at theclearingstatement.com. But basically, it's like any of those places where you are not allowing yourself to receive. It's like deletes it all, explodes it all up, and just be like, yeah, let it in. Like, what's the worst friggin' thing that can happen? Oh, yeah, something different shows up, something greater shows up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
your enthusiasm and that like sparkle, that space, you're more powerful than you realize. And I want to have like a moment just in the universe to put a throw out to
Mhm.
all the unsung heroes and mentors and all the ways that this reality, I don't know why, and nor is that a relevant subject, but there's so many moms, dads, teachers, coaches, just I've been I've been so exposed in my interesting adventure to all
Mhm.
these underpaid giants, these under-acknowledged heroes, like the real gardeners of the kingdom, the stewards, the ones that like have no expectation of kudos, but I do know they get tired. And so if you're one of those, and I'm sure you are, if you're listening, you're still listening, you are one of those. And we also have to cultivate acknowledging each other. And
Mhm.
one of the greatest gifts of this recent project was to be in co-creation with my now grown student and have his back and cultivate that, but cultivate relationships with other amazing teachers and some of the administration. And they've been working really hard and nobody knows anymore, really. Like you said, be polite to the universe. But what if we actually also were really in high acknowledgement and esteem? When you notice someone doing something wonderful, note it and
Yes.
like say hello. And I have learned, once
Yeah.
upon a time I used to describe myself as shy, probably because I live in a constant state of amazement. It's just how I've lived. And so I'd be shy because I didn't know how to express all these things that I would see occurring that nobody else seems to be walking over and giving that lady a hug or something.
Yeah.
But to stretch into finding the words and just start by, if you see that, or you see somebody who their child is beaming, but their mom is sitting there pretty tired because she's just hasn't had someone say like, wow, what a freaking creature you're cultivating.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
good job, mom. Like,
Yeah.
wow, your kid is shining. You're doing something
Yes.
awesome.
Oh, I love that. Please. I love
Like,
it. Love it. Love
let's
it. Love
just
it.
be
Yeah.
that in the world. And I always love that about you because once upon a time at one of my first classes with still a lot of sorrow in my world, you didn't know me really then, but you were that space. And I'll never forget, just like, I'm here, I'm really vulnerable in this class, I'm changing, and you just stopped me. I'm going to always acknowledge this. You are always a great hugger. That's the thing. If you ever get to be around Simone, hug her. But it was so present. Like, I don't need to hear what's going on. It's like you saw the effort I've been in my life. I'm processing some kind of disappointment or lie that I'm melting. I was acknowledged, and it fed me so much, because the thing is we don't have to do that much to completely re-stimulate a new possibility for someone.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you for that acknowledgement. I'll receive that. Yeah, I'm not the best person to go up to someone and do small talk. It's not my gig. It's like, I'm not someone who you phone up to go, hey, how was your weekend? I'm like, I don't fucking even know what day it is. Like, what do you mean? How was
What's
my
a
weekend?
weekend is what I
Yeah,
was.
what's the weekend? I don't know. What, you know, but that energetically, I always desire to be a contribution and to receive that as well. I think that's a much bigger gig. And so thank you, Desiree. I'm grateful. So yeah.
Well, I think the world could have more of those strong, short conversations of like, I see you. Hi, my name's Desiree. Nice, I see you. Amazing, and walk away, and they might feel really uncomfortable. Good. And I think that's something that I inspired the teens to do also. And I know we're wrapping it up, but this was, the more I was like willing to go up to the toughest kid or the one that didn't like me the most.
Yeah.
And be that anyway, they just crack open. Like, it's sort of like just cracking eggs. And by the end of even the first few days, kids that hated each other were high-fiving and like literally picking each other up when they'd hear each other sing.
That's
And
so cool.
this is our true freaking nature. This is what we do.
And you have no cognitive awareness of what future that has created and is creating.
Don't have to.
Nope. But it's like there's ripples out there. It's just like, yeah, I love it. So thank you. Hey, I know I do want to put a shout out because you are doing a bars class in the Global Foundation and a foundation in Europe, in Italy, at Casa Borgoni at the end of June. So I would highly recommend anyone, you're doing it with Simone from Czech Republic, right? Yeah.
Yes, Simona Novikova and I were very excited to be at the castle for those days. Oh my gosh.
Cool. So we're going to have the dates in the show notes, etc., and the registration link and all that sort of stuff as well. Am I going to see? Are you going for Gary and Kalpana's class as well?
I will be arriving right in the middle of it. I have to be here for one of the days, so I will see you there, though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll be there, and then I'm heading off to Croatia. So
me too.
Cool.
I'll see you there as well to continue the commitment to facilitating these freaking amazing tools.
Yeah. So, okay, last couple of things here. This podcast is called Choice, Change, and Action. Is there anything you, either personally, Desiree, or in the world, you would like to see changed? And I'm going to say, what action do you think that we could choose with that? Or if for you, could just be you.
Wow, there's so many things that just came up. I have so many things, but I'm going to try to rein it in. Let's see what I choose to say. I love the title of your podcast. So whatever we can be, we can facilitate these classes. But it's the way we move. What I would like to see. Bring it in, Desiree.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a humanoid of magnitude with a download of so many things popping into her head. She's like, I want to share everything.
It's basically like if people can really recognize what choice is and however we can inspire it. Choice, really to explore what choice is. And if you take classes and you can, it's sort of like unraveling your mind and you start to recognize your actions are your choices and your choices create, and there's all these nuances, but also that we just be that. So I think the change that I'm looking for is if you have even one tool to work with, to really play with it and find out what it opens for you, what it's like the world that I want to be here for, that I'm co-creating with anyone interested in co-creating it, is where we're choosers, not just looking to possess stuff. We're not consumers, we're creators. And so that message, like the message is one thing I'd like to see people just share more, talk about it, change the conversation. And then if you're on another level of it and you're really recognizing your choice creates, and it's not just your own individuated life, we start, I'm just interested in choice being the conversation, and eventually for more and more and more and more people recognizing really what it is and having it not as a neuroses or a like a terrifying thing, but that choice is this relaxing way to generate and live so organically. I don't really know how to answer your question. I just want choice to be the conversation. Let's start there.
Okay, choice to be the conversation, and I'm going to add maybe the first action too is to relax.
Yeah, that it's
Because you
not
just relaxed my body when you said that, and that's a really key piece to choosing to relax.
by
Yeah,
caring about you enough to give you what makes you happy.
yeah, I love it. Desiree, thank you so much for being here with me, and I look forward to seeing you in Italy.
Yay!
Yes,
I do
yay.
too, and thank you so much for having me, and what a meandering conversation of like, this is the stuff that feeds your cells, makes you younger,
Yeah.
it just like gives you a glow.
Puts a smile on your dial.
Yeah, like some people do like, all kinds of stuff to their face. And like I like to have fun with people and see change. And that
Yeah.
does do something to my body. And then I'm happier. And then when you're happier, you live longer, you live more
It's
presently.
so true. It's so true. It's like nearly everyone, without sounding like a whatever, but so many people I know that have been using access consciousness tools for so long. But I can speak of myself. Like Facebook shows me, here you were 10 years ago. And I'm like, dude, are you kidding? I was like, I look so much better today than I looked 10 years ago. I feel better in my body. I'm happier as a being than I
Oh,
was 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it is,
me
So,
too.
yeah, and what if that's the future that you let in, that happy, let it in now, more and more and more and more. We just increase it and we 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 increase it. And don't forget the mantra of access. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Cool.
Mm.
Thank you, Desiree. I'll see you in Italy. Mwah. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thanks for being here. See you next time.